Fall is here and nothing says cozy like a crock pot bubbling away while the leaves change outside. In this video, I'm sharing 12 warm, comforting crock pot meals that are perfect for busy nights, lazy weekends, and everything in between. But stick around because I've also got a couple surprise recipes tucked in here that you won't see coming. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around to the very last bite. Let's get started, y'all. Alright, next up, y'all, we have pasta fagioli. And I know I'm probably not saying that right. And I gotta be real with y'all, I ain't never even had this at Olive Garden, but I made it and it was delicious, so y'all are gonna like this. So first, I just browned up 1 pound of ground beef, drained that, threw it in my slow cooker, along with 1 can of mild rotel, 1 can of drained and rinsed pintos, 1 can of drained and rinsed kidney beans, and then I had some celery, carrot, and onion that I just diced up. I added in my everything seasoning by Auntie Nono's. It's just salt, pepper, garlic, and onion, some Italian seasoning, 1 jar of spaghetti sauce. We love Rayo's. Got to shake out that extra sauce in there with a little bit of water, and then 3 cups of beef broth. And that is pretty much it. This is just going to cook on high for 3 to 4 hours, low 5 to 6. Get all these good flavors all married together. And then at the very end, I just left mine on high, and you're going to add 1 cup of this ditalini pasta, or any pasta that you want, but this pasta is so good in here. It's so tiny, so it only takes a little bit of time to cook. So you're just going to pour that in another 30 minutes, and your dinner is done. I just served ours with some cheese toast. You could also do breadsticks like Olive Garden. And y'all, I cannot get over how good this was. This is definitely going into our rotation for fall and winter just because it's delicious and it was so easy and so comforting too. This one is a must try. So to the bottom of our slow cooker, I'm going to try to add half this can of rotel and just spread that around as best you can. Alright, so now I have 1 onion sliced and 3 bell peppers sliced. So I'm going to place half of each of these in the next layer. Next, we're going to just sprinkle on about 4 cloves of minced garlic. Next, on top of that, we're just going to lay 3 chicken breasts. Next, to a small bowl, we're going to add 2½ teaspoons of chili powder, 2 teaspoons of ground cumin, 1 teaspoon paprika, and 3/4 teaspoon of ground coriander. We're just going to mix everything together. Also, I forgot to add a little pepper and salt. Now we're just going to sprinkle on that seasoning mixture right over the chicken. Next, we're going to add the remaining tomatoes, or rotel, and then the remaining peppers and onions. Alright, and I'm going to cook mine on high for about 2 or 3 hours until that chicken is cooked through. Alright, so everything's been cooking about 4 hours. So I'm just going to shred up this chicken. And the instructions on the original recipe say to ladle out some of this liquid. I guess it's more than you need. They said ladle out about 1 cup and just discard it. And now you can either slice up your chicken, you can take it out, or just shred it up. But I think we'll be fine with just shredding it up because we're going to put ours into tortillas anyway. And lastly, to a small little bowl, we're just going to mix together about 2 tablespoons of honey. And then 2 tablespoons of lime juice. All right, and then we're just gonna pour that mixture over the chicken. gonna toss it around a little bit. And we are ready to eat. Like I said, we're gonna serve ours with some tortillas, but you could just put it over some chips and do it like nachos. We do that kind of thing a lot of time. All right, y'all, here are those chicken fajitas all plated up. They look delicious. We like to top ours with just a little bit of shredded cheese, sour cream. You could also do lettuce, cilantro. They have a little bit of guacamole on the side. You could do black olives, basically whatever you want on your fajitas or tacos. I think these are gonna be so good. I love all the fresh ingredients that this recipe uses. So yeah, let's dig right into these chicken fajitas. Chicken breast in my crock pot. These are pretty small, but I think it'll still be okay with all the pasta and everything. And then next we're going in with the Olive Garden Italian dressing. Now I've seen a few people make this, and a few of them I've noticed have said you really don't need the whole bottle of this Italian dressing. And since my chicken breasts are kind of small, I'm gonna go with about half, because I don't want it to be too zesty. That's what I've noticed a few people saying. And then next, the recipe I looked at called for grated Parmesan cheese, about 1/4 cup. But I also have shredded, so I think I'm gonna do a little bit of both. And just sprinkle that right over top of the chicken. Of course, you do it how you want to. Don't be afraid to change up recipes a little bit and make them, you know, put your own spin on it. I'm not gonna do a ton of the shredded Parmesan, just a small little handful. Also gonna give it a little sprinkle of black pepper. And then lastly, I have 8 ounces of cream cheese. Just gonna plop that right on top of the chicken. All right, so I'm gonna get this covered. I'm actually getting kind of a late start. What's new? So I'm gonna start mine out on high, and then I'll probably turn it down to low. I do that a lot of times when I forget or just run out of time. Start it on high, and then I'll turn it down to low so it doesn't cook too awfully fast. And then later, when this gets all creamy, we're gonna shred it up and make the pasta that goes along with this. I'm so excited to try this recipe. All right, so I ended up just letting this chicken cook on high for about 4 hours. So now I'm just gonna kind of shred up this chicken. I'm just using a little chopping tool. It's a mix and chop, but you can get them on Amazon as well. It's nice and tender. We're gonna chop all this up, and it is nice and creamy as well. I hope the camera's doing it justice. Haven't tasted it yet, so we will see. So I'm just gonna keep that on warm, and meanwhile over here on the stove, I'm just gonna cook up 1 box of penne pasta. Of course, you can use any kind of pasta that you prefer. All right, so I guess you could serve it up separately. Just have your chicken with the sauce and the noodles, but I think I'm actually gonna go ahead and mix the two. You may or may not put all these noodles in here. Talked about sauce ratio. You gotta have it saucy. You can't have it too dry. I did taste that chicken. I think it's gonna be really good. There is Olive Garden chicken pasta. Darren's tried it. I'm getting ready to try it myself. Not fancy, but definitely easy, and it gets dinner on the table. So I'm just starting by browning up some sliced bacon that I already chopped up. I'm gonna brown that about halfway. Is there anything better than the smell of bacon cooking? I mean, really. All right, so our bacon is about halfway crisp. Now I'm just gonna add some chopped carrots, celery, and onion to soften up. And of course, I will have the exact measurements in the recipe linked down below so you guys can go and see and check it out. We're also adding 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. And we're just gonna let this cook for a few minutes until these veggies start to soften up. But by the way, I wanted to tell you guys today's video is exciting because it is part of a big collab put together by Kat from Southern Farm and Kitchen. I'll have her channel and the playlist linked down below. A bunch of us are making some really delicious soups today, and like I said, they're all in a playlist for you. So on this first day of fall, you're gonna have the perfect meal inspiration. When you're done watching this video, just check down below for that playlist and you'll be good to go. All right, so now I've just brought our veggies and bacon mixture over to my slow cooker, and we're just gonna add those right in. Next to the slow cooker, we're just gonna add 4 cups of chicken stock or chicken broth. Next, we're gonna add 1 tablespoon of better than bouillon. Next, I'm just gonna add a pinch of black pepper. I'm gonna hold off on the salt for now just because that bouillon and chicken stock is salty. Can always add that in at the end if you need it. Next, we're adding 1/4 teaspoon of dried thyme. Next, I have about 4 pounds of russet potatoes that I've already chopped. I'm gonna add those in. All right, I'm gonna give everything a stir. And this can either cook on low for 7 or 8 hours. I'm actually gonna cook mine on high for about 4 or 5 hours. We want these potatoes to be fork tender, and then we have just a couple more ingredients we're gonna add at the end. Okay, so my potatoes are nice and tender. Now we're just gonna add a couple more things to make our soup really creamy. I'm just adding a 1/2 cup of flour. And to that, I'm just gonna add 1 cup of milk. Her recipe calls for whole milk. I always buy 2% and it works just fine. All right, I'm just gonna give this a whisk. I'm just gonna pour in that flour mixture. And last but not least, we're gonna add 2 cups of heavy cream. Oh my goodness, this looks so good. So creamy. I did taste it. It does taste good also. But the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna mash some of these potatoes just a little bit. And this step is optional. You don't have to do this, but I kind of like the smaller little chunks in there, and it just makes it a little bit smoother. You could even take an immersion blender and totally blend it up a little bit. I've done that with other potato soup recipes before too. This potato soup was so delicious. I think it might be my new favorite potato soup recipe. All those extra veggies in there just added a little bit of flavor. You really couldn't even tell there was a bunch of veggies in it. I served it with some fresh French bread, and it was the perfect fall dinner. To my slow cooker, I'm just adding about 1 pound of chicken breast. I just have some thinly sliced, so it's about 2 chicken breasts. Next, we're adding 2 cups of chicken broth. Next, we're gonna add a 10-ounce can of red enchilada sauce. Next, I'm just gonna add 2 cans of black beans, drained and rinsed. Next, we're adding 1 can of fire roasted diced tomatoes, and this one is with the juice. Next, we're adding 1 can of drained whole kernel corn. Next, we're gonna add about 4 ounces of these diced green chilies. 2 tablespoons of minced garlic, and about 1 teaspoon of ground cumin. All right, I'm just gonna gently stir the top. My chicken is down there at the bottom, and I'm gonna cook mine on high about 3 or 4 hours until that chicken is tender, because we are gonna end up shredding that with forks. So about 3 or 4 hours on high, or of course you could do it 6 to 8 hours on low. Once that chicken was nice and tender, I just took 2 forks and shredded it all up. You could of course just pull each chicken breast out and shred it up that way, but I find it just as easy to shred it up right in the slow cooker. This dinner was my oldest daughter's favorite of the two. Her all-time favorite soup I make is taco soup, so no wonder she loved it. Very similar in ingredients. This one was also very, very good. She actually took the leftovers today in her thermos for her lunch, so perfect for that. We topped ours with a little bit of shredded sharp cheddar cheese and a little bit of tortilla strips, and again, the perfect fall meal. Next up, we have slow cooker Italian beef sandwiches. Alright, so you guys have probably heard of Mississippi roast, especially if you are not new here on my channel. But today we're going to make something a little bit different called Italian beef sandwiches. So we are going to start with a chuck roast, just like this. We're going to go ahead and get that in the slow cooker. Next, on top of that, we're just going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. Alright, and then next we're going to take one of these little packets of Italian seasoning mix, and we're just going to sprinkle that right on top as well. Next, on top of the Italian seasoning, we're just going to add some minced garlic. You can use fresh. Today I'm doing it the easy way. And just about 3 or 4 cloves. So we really like garlic. I'm going to add a good bit. Alright, next we're just going to add a few of these pepperoncini peppers. You can add as many as you like. I'll probably add about 5 or 6. And then lastly, we're just gonna add 2 cups of broth. All I have is chicken broth, but of course you could use beef broth in this. And we're just gonna pour in about 2 cups. All right, and this is gonna cook on low pretty much all day. Probably about 10 hours, maybe even 12, we'll see. But just until it's tender enough to kind of shred up with some forks. Alrighty, so I've had the roast on warm for a little bit. So now I'm just taking 2 forks and I'm just gonna kind of shred it up a little bit. Just gonna leave those peppers in there. It'll continue to give it flavor, but I'll probably just move them. If you use the sliced pepperoncini peppers, you can of course just add those right on in, you know, on your sandwiches. Alright, here is the Italian beef sandwich. Just put a little bit of mayonnaise on mine, a little bit of cheese on that toasted bun. Looks so good. Here's what the rest looks like. I'll shred it up in the crock pot. We have plenty left for lunches or another dinner. So tonight we're gonna make Swiss chicken. You may have made this recipe before. It's really good, but if you haven't, you need to try it. So in my slow cooker, I've just got 3 chicken breasts that I cleaned and trimmed up. The original recipe calls for 6, but for our family of 4, 3 good-sized chicken breasts is plenty. 6 will be way too much. So just keep that in mind. But anyways, I have my chicken in there. Now we're gonna mix 1/2 cup of milk and 1 can of cream of chicken. Next Next, right on top of that, we're gonna add about 6 slices of Swiss cheese, or however much cheese your heart desires. Although your heart might disagree in a few years, but we ain't gonna talk about that. This is good, okay? I'm not claiming it's healthy. Next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the packet from Stovetop stuffing mix, and I like the chicken flavor. We're just gonna sprinkle that all on top of the cheese. And my camera's going dead, we better hurry. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of move that around to get those seasonings mixed up evenly. All right, and lastly, you're gonna take 1/4 of a cup of melted butter or 1/2 a stick and pour it over your stuffing mix. And you wanna kinda get it as moist as possible. Sorry if you don't like that word. You know what else word I hate? Nougat. Like in a candy bar. We were talking about this the other day. Nougat. Comment the word that y'all cannot stand to hear. I'd rather hear moist than nougat. I don't know why. Okay, y'all.
What about moist nougat?
No. No moist nougat in this recipe.
Nougat.
Stop it. No moist nougats. That is nasty. I don't know what that is, but it's nasty. All right, y'all. I actually melted a whole stick of butter. Oh Lord, call the food police, because I like it to be moist. Like I said, I don't want it to be dry, any little dry pieces in here. But you can also add a little bit of chicken broth if you would rather not add butter. But like I said it was delicious, not healthy. We're gonna pop the lid on. This is gonna cook either on low for 5 to 6 hours. I'm gonna do mine on high, about 2 to 3 hours. All right, y'all, here is the Swiss chicken. Cooked on high for 3 hours, and then I turned it down to low, probably for another hour. But right now it's on warm, and it smells so good in here. It smells like a little mini Thanksgiving, and it's looking good and cheesy and all golden. So I'm just gonna make us some rice to put this over top, and we're gonna have dinner. All right, it's time to eat. I got my rice right here. We're gonna put this Swiss chicken right on top. Let me bring y'all closer so you can see how yummy. Chicken is nice and tender down there. And there we go, Swiss chicken. Like I said, it's like Thanksgiving, a mini Thanksgiving in a bowl. If you haven't tried this Crockpot recipe, you need to try it. Okay, next up is Mongolian beef, which happens to be my favorite Chinese takeout dish. So what makes it even better is I can make it right at home. So I'm actually using some beef sirloin chips. I think it turned out perfect for this recipe. Since they cook for a long time, it gets them nice and tender, and I think that worked out really well. So to a bowl, I'm just gonna add in my steak along with some cornstarch, and I'm just gonna give that a stir until all of my steak is nice and coated. So coming over to the slow cooker, I'm gonna add in some toasted sesame seed oil, some minced garlic, and then I'm gonna add in some soy sauce or liquid aminos. Next time, I think I will half this. The recipe turned out a little salty, so take my advice and just add in half of the soy sauce. Also, I'm gonna add in some water and some brown sugar and some ground ginger, and I'm just gonna give this all a nice stir before we place our steak in the slow cooker. Once I got all my steak in the slow cooker, I'm just gonna give that a nice toss, make sure the sauce is fully covering the steak, and I cooked this on low for about 7 hours until tender. This recipe was so easy, and once my steak was tender, I just fixed up some basmati rice, added my Mongolian beef right on top of the rice, and then chopped up some green onion and topped with that as well. So easy, so great to have Chinese takeout at home. You could also fix up some broccoli on the side. Just an easy and delicious recipe. finally having some cool fall-like weather today. It's actually super cool and rainy. So I knew I wanted to just throw something in the crock pot for dinner tonight. So obviously we're just gonna add 2 chicken breasts to your crock pot. And 2, we have a family of 4. 2 is really enough in here because we're gonna add pasta and all sorts of stuff. So it's gonna make a ton. To season up our chicken breast, I'm just gonna go in with some lemon pepper. I always love to add lemon pepper, especially in these kind of savory crock pot meals. I don't know, it doesn't taste lemony. It just gives it like a little something. And then we're also gonna add some Italian seasoning. And again, just add whatever seasonings you like. And then the star of the show for this recipe, of course, is the Buffalo Wild Wings. It is the Parmesan garlic sauce. We're gonna use this entire bottle in here. So we're just gonna dump this whole bottle of Parmesan garlic sauce on top. And then there's so many different versions of this recipe. A lot call for half and half. They want you to take, call for heavy cream. They want you to take your heavy cream, fill your jar up of this and kind of rinse it out and add it. But I think the half and half works just as fine. So that's what we're gonna use today. So like I said, we're just gonna fill up this bottle. I'm not gonna fill it all the way up just so I have a little bit of room to give it a little shake in there. And of course, this also helps to clean out this bottle so we don't waste any of this sauce. Pour that on. Okay. Wash my hands again. Clean up my mess. And then the last thing we're gonna add right now is just about half a block of cream cheese. It's just the regular full-fat cream cheese. All right, and that is it for now. We are gonna pop the lid on, cook this on high for about 3 to 4 hours until that chicken is cooked through. And then we're gonna add just a couple more things and this will be ready. All right, so our chicken's been cooking. It cooked on high about 4 hours and then I turned it down to low and then it's been on warm as we ran everywhere this afternoon. It looks kind of crazy right now, but we're just gonna shred up the chicken. I'm just using my little mix and chop tool. You can use 2 forks, whatever you wanna do. The last thing we're gonna add in is just some shredded cheese. I just got this Mexican blend because it has some shredded Monterey Jack, cheddar, whole milk mozzarella, and then asadero. I don't know if I said that right. I mainly got it because of the Monterey Jack, the cheddar, and the mozzarella in there. So we're just gonna add in about a cup. Maybe just a little bit more. We're just gonna stir in that cheese. I have my crock pot on warm right now. You could leave it on warm or low, whatever you wanna do. It will not take long at all for that cheese to melt in there. So while that cheese is melting, when your dinner is almost ready to eat, you are going to want to go ahead and boil your pasta on the side. You can put your pasta in with some of these kind of crock pot meals, but I really like to cook mine on the side just to ensure it doesn't kind of overcook in the crock pot, if you know what I mean. So I'm just boiling up 1 pound of this corkscrew pasta. You can use elbow noodles, some penne noodles work great, any kind that you want. And then you're just gonna add those cooked noodles right in with everything else. I didn't quite add all of my noodles. I kind of like to just eyeball it to make sure I get that right consistency. If you've been here a while, you know I love to talk about it. I like my stuff to be saucy. I don't want there to be too many noodles in here. So just add however many you want and you are pretty much done. This will stay warm for a little bit, but again, I would not cook it any longer at this point, just because you don't want your noodles to be soggy. I did go back and added just a little bit of heavy cream to mine. I felt like it was just a little bit thick for my liking, so you can do that. You can add a little heavy cream, a little milk, just to thin it out and get it to where you like it. And then next, all we're gonna do is plate this up, and this meal is so delicious. I have made it before, but it's been a super long time, and I just forgot how delicious this one is. All right, so we're just gonna go ahead and place, I have about 4 chicken breasts over here. Next, I'm going in with a can of cream of onion soup. We're also gonna add 1 can of the cream of chicken with herbs, but regular cream of chicken will be fine too. Next, we're just gonna add in 1 packet of the Italian dressing mix, and you can find this over by the ranch mix and all of that stuff. So we're just gonna need 1 little packet of that. Sprinkle that on. Next, we're just gonna add in 1 block of cream cheese. I just cubed it up a little bit just to kind of help it melt faster. All right, now I'm gonna try to stir this just a little bit just to kind of incorporate all that seasoning and those soups all over our chicken. And this is either gonna cook on low for about 6 hours until your chicken is done, but I'm gonna cook mine on high for about 3.5, 4 hours. All right, I'm gonna put it on high, 3.5 hours, and I'll check back in with y'all here in just a little bit. All right, we just got home. I thought we would give our chicken a little look. It's been cooking for about maybe 2.5 hours on high. I'm gonna give everything a little stir, help that cream cheese along a little bit. We definitely need a little more time. I'm just gonna let it continue to go. Maybe another hour, hour and a half, we'll see on high. But it already looks good, it already smells really good. All right, I'm gonna put the lid back on and I'll check back in with you guys in a little bit. I figured we would kind of kick it back old school tonight. I have my creamy Italian chicken going in the crock pot. Has just a little bit more time, but I thought I would show you just kind of the sides and everything that I'm fixing to go with it tonight. So I was thinking that I would fix pasta to go on with this chicken, but my family really likes rice with stuff like this, so I think I'm gonna do some rice instead. And then also, I've had this in my cabinet for a few weeks now. This is the Southern Biscuit Formula L Complete Biscuit Mix. I shared a recipe probably almost a year ago now for some Cheddar Bay biscuits, my grandpa's Cheddar Bay biscuits, using this mix. And I thought that just sounded so good. So let's get all that started. So I'm just gonna make some basic white rice to go with it. But a few months ago, y'all might remember I asked on my channel on, I don't even remember what video, if you rinsed your rice or not. Well, y'all, I didn't ever rinse my rice until that video or somebody said to or something. But ever since I've been rinsing it, I swear it is so much more fluffy. It has the best texture. So I just want to say, if you are one of those people who never even heard of rinsing rice, maybe just give it a try and you might be surprised like I was. All right, so for these Cheddar Bay biscuits, first of all, excuse the color. Every time I use this blue bowl, it like makes the whole color on the screen orange. I don't know why. But anyway, we're gonna need 3.5 cups of the Formula L biscuit mix. Now I'll try to show y'all, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but what's kind of unique about this biscuit mix is it has those little buttery, I think they're actually margarine flakes in there, but they add flavor. I just think that's pretty cool to add to those little biscuit layers. Now we're gonna add in 1/2 cup to 1 cup of sharp cheddar cheese. Not margarine, y'all, shortening flakes. All right, and usually I don't actually keep actual buttermilk, but I had some. I bought for another recipe and didn't use it. But if you don't have buttermilk, I usually use just milk with a couple tablespoons of vinegar in it, let it sit, and you have buttermilk. I do that all the time. All right, but first, let's go ahead and mix our biscuit mix with our cheese just to kind of incorporate everything. All right, and next we're gonna pour in our buttermilk. And these Cheddar Bay biscuits, because I already know some people are gonna say to try the Red Lobster ones, I think these are way better. So y'all have to try these and tell me what you think. Now we're gonna stir this together, but we're only gonna use as few strokes as possible until we get this biscuit mix mixed in with the buttermilk. I think we need just a touch more buttermilk, so I'm just gonna add that in. Barely give it another little stir, little mix, little fold. Oh yeah, that's much better. All right, so our biscuit dough is mixed up, easy as that. Next, I have my baking sheet lined with some parchment paper, and these are drop biscuits. So that just means we're gonna take a spoonful and drop it on our parchment paper. And these are gonna kind of get big and fluffy, so you do wanna leave them a little bit of room in between, a couple inches preferably. All right, I'm definitely gonna have to have another sheet pan, but I have my oven on 450 degrees, and these just take about 10 to 12 minutes until they start to get golden brown. And while they're in the oven, we're gonna make the most delicious garlic butter sauce to brush over them. So here is a quick look at our ingredients for this recipe. Of course, we're gonna start with some chicken breast, and then for seasonings for this recipe, we're gonna use some smoked paprika, a little bit of cayenne, and garlic salt. Now, I will say if you're not a huge fan of spicy stuff, you can cut back on the cayenne or just leave it out altogether, and I'm sure it still would be really good. We're also gonna add some butter, little brown sugar. This is just some vinegar right here. And then we're also gonna add some honey. This is a hot honey chicken sandwich, so we gotta have that. All right, first we're gonna give our slow cooker a good spray. And next we're just gonna place in those chicken breasts. Just have about 3 good sized chicken breasts. Next, the recipe I'm kind of going by says to mix all the seasonings in a bowl first. You can do that, but I figure why mess up another bowl? Because all we're gonna do is sprinkle it all on top anyway. So I'm gonna add our garlic salt. Next, I'm gonna sprinkle on that cayenne pepper. And I might not add quite all of this. I do want my kids to eat it, so I'm gonna hold back just a little bit on that. Next, let's bring over that smoked paprika. Next, we're just gonna sprinkle on all of that brown sugar. We're also gonna pour that vinegar right on top. It's not much at all actually. And of course, we're gonna add that honey. The recipe calls for a cup of honey just drizzled over the top like this. If you wanna measure out a cup of honey, go ahead and spray your cup measure down with some cooking spray and then do it, but I'm just gonna guesstimate because they're drizzling it right on top anyway, about a cup. And lastly, I have half a stick of butter right here. I just cut it up. We're gonna place it right on top. And the recipe I'm following says you can cook this on high for 2 hours or low for 3. But I think I'm gonna stick with low with all that honey in there. I'm just kind of nervous for it to burn. So I'm gonna start with low. My crock pot cooks kind of hot anyway. So I'm gonna go with low for about 3 hours. We'll check in and see how it looks. All right, y'all, if y'all see me back here, yes, I got my robe on. I'm getting ready. We have some things to do tonight, but let's give our chicken a little peek. It is looking and smelling delicious in here, and it is falling apart on my fork as well. So, all right, y'all, our hot honey chicken is done, shredded all up. I have some toasted buttery hamburger buns over here. Just gonna pile some on there. Of course, I got my pickles waiting over here on the side. I'm gonna serve ours with some tater tots on the side. Y'all, that looks pretty good to me. All right, taste test time for this hot honey chicken. Like I said, I tasted the chicken by itself. Really, really good, had just enough heat, but I'm excited to try it with the pickles. We got a little buttery toasted bun on there. All right, let's give it a try. We need some stronger buns, though.
Yes. That is amazing. That is really good. It's got just enough heat to it.
That is delicious. That is so good. I don't love like a really strong honey flavor. That really doesn't have it. It's just more like a sweet, kind of can't put your finger on it. It doesn't taste like barbecue sauce either. Really, really good and really different. What do you think?
I thought it was really good. The cayenne pepper that's in it kind of gives you an afterthought of that heat.
Yeah, it does.
It's so good. It's not too bad. It's delicious.
Y'all make sure you definitely give that one a try. So good.
Very good.
You think it tastes like a Chick-fil-A sauce? Yeah, kind of does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Like a spicy Chick-fil-A, yeah.
With that pickle on it.
What do you rate it, 1 through 10? 9.5? Okay,
Not
that's
bad.
pretty good. And last but not least, we have an apple crisp in the slow cooker. I don't know about y'all, but my family is always ready for dessert, even after a cookout. I'm looking at you, Grandbob. So I thought we would make our dessert in the slow cooker. That way, we're not heating up our oven, and our dessert is ready when everybody is ready for it. So we already have our ingredients down here. We're gonna start with some Granny Smith apples. Those always work really well in an apple dessert. We have some sugar, lemon juice, a little bit of flour, a little bit of cinnamon, and then we're gonna make that delicious classic streusel topping. We have a little bit of cubed butter, brown sugar, a little bit more flour, gotta have some old-fashioned oats, pinch of salt, and a little bit more cinnamon. So let's get this apple crisp into our slow cooker. So the hardest part of this recipe is just peeling and chopping your apples. I'm gonna start with my little apple corer or slicer, and then I'll probably just cut each little apple wedge in half like that till we have our apple slices. I'm gonna give my slow cooker a spray really good. All right, apple slices just going in the bottom of a slow cooker. And y'all, what is more summertime than apple pie, right? Or apple crisp in this case. This is gonna be perfect. All right, so we got all of our apples down there in the slow cooker, all sliced up. This is probably about 5 apples. Now we're gonna take some lemon juice, just pour that all over top of the apples. I'm gonna give that a quick little stir. Next, we're gonna sprinkle on some sugar. Sprinkle on a little bit of flour as well. And lastly, a little sprinkle all over of cinnamon. And again, we're just gonna give everything a stir. Gently toss all of it around. That flour and sugar and cinnamon all coating the apples. And y'all, I'm so excited. The house is gonna smell so good. Summertime dessert, but it's gonna be smelling like Christmas up in here. So next, to a medium-sized bowl, we're just gonna go ahead and add some more flour. This part is our streusel oatmeal topping, my favorite part. Next, we're dumping in the oatmeal. We have just a pinch of salt, a little bit more cinnamon, brown sugar, and now we're just gonna go ahead and give all this a mix. All right, to that mixture, we're just gonna add some chopped cold butter. It's pretty cold, starting to melt a little bit. And now we're just gonna cut in that butter. All right, next we're just gonna bring over that streusel topping and go right over the top of all these apples. This looks so good already. And lastly, we're just gonna cover it with a paper towel before we put the lid on. This is supposed to help with some of the condensation in here because we want that topping to get as crisp as it possibly can. And then we're just gonna place the lid on top of that. And this is gonna cook about 1.5 hours on high, and then we'll take the paper towel off and we'll cook it a little bit longer after that. All right, gotta have some vanilla ice cream. This will be even better out the pool with some homemade vanilla. Oh yeah, these apples, I can already tell, are cooked so perfectly. Look at this, y'all. Oh my goodness, that looks so good. That is a perfect summer dessert if I've ever seen one. Get back up there. All right, let's try this apple crisp. It is melting fast, y'all. It was hot over that ice cream. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Cheers.
Cheers.
For a summertime cookout dessert, is that not perfect?
Oh.
I mean, I know I keep saying that. It'd be good for any time, but just summer cookout was on my mind.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
apples are cooked absolutely perfectly, y'all.
Let's do it.
I think Grandma would approve. We might have to make that again this weekend, think.
I agree. This is like well above a 10 over 10.
I was gonna say, definitely a 10. I just wanna tell y'all, I might have before, I'm not a huge apple pie fan because I'm not a huge cooked apple fan. This is so good. I love this. The Granny Smith apples adds just enough tartness to balance off that sweet. It is so good. Even if you don't like apples, give this one a try. Alrighty, y'all, that's my lineup of cozy crockpot dinners for fall. But I know y'all have some family favorites too, so let me know what's the recipe that always shows up at your table around this time of year. Leave it down there in the comments. Say hello, letting me know you stopped by here today, and I will see y'all again real soon in my next video. Bye, y'all.